I think I understood how real estate investing works, but I didn't really know how it was going to work in the market I was living in. So once I started going to these meetups and just hearing real stories of how people got into real estate, that's how I was ultimately able to develop a plan and then implement that plan.
Welcome. This is the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping others through real estate investing. Our hosts interview guests from all aspects of real estate investing who generously share valuable experiences and advice. Whether you're starting out or an experienced investor, this is the show for you.
How's it going? My name is Travis Shelton, and welcome to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, where I interview guests who want to help others investing in real estate. We keep these podcasts fun, quick, and full of value, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today with Courtney, a realtor, investor, and outdoor enthusiast. Courtney, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. You were one of the first people I met in Phoenix, one of the first investors, and you've helped me tremendously. So I'm just honored to be here today.
Awesome. Well, I'm really pumped to have this conversation with you, and I think our audience is going to gain a ton of value from our discussion today. But Courtney, can we start off with, can you give the audience just your 30-second elevator pitch, a little bit more about yourself and your real estate focus?
Absolutely. So my background is in healthcare, actually. I worked as an occupational therapist. And like many healthcare providers, I was really struggling with burnout. So I knew I just couldn't keep putting money in my 401k and wait till I was 65 to retire. I needed to get out earlier. So started looking into investing. So listened to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of books. But I guess was in this analysis paralysis stage. And it was when I actually started going to meetups and meeting people. That's when I really understood how I could get into investing. And after my first meetup, 4 months later, I got my first property. And it was about 9 months later, I decided I wanted to jump in full time into the real estate world, and actually went and got my license. And now I'm working on building my business and becoming a full-time realtor and investor.
That's amazing. And I want to clarify one thing. Have you left the occupational therapy world? Are you full-time real estate now?
So I am full-time real estate right now, but I still work PRN at a hospital job. So I'm usually working like 1 or 2 shifts a month. To be honest, my heart's still in therapy a little bit, so I don't want to give up my license completely. And it's nice to have that security too. Just having a healthcare job available if things,
absolutely.
don't pan out the way I hope they do.
It's hard to leave that passion and something you work so hard for.
Absolutely. Exactly.
I just wanted to clarify. I actually didn't know myself. So, but Courtney, we start all our shows and podcasts with some motivation. So what motivational quote would you like to share with our audience today?
Yeah. So let me read this so I don't mess it up. So it's actually from Usain Bolt. This is a quote that I found recently, and it's, I trained 4 years to run 9 seconds, and people give up when they don't see results in 2 months. And this is something I'm reminding myself because I think so often on social media and on bigger podcasts. You hear people, they started investing, and then like 2 years, they were full-time investors. They were cash flowing like crazy. And it's easy to be like, that's where I want to be. But when you talk to people who have been in the investing world for a while, you realize it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and you just got to be consistent and stay with it. You aren't going to hit this whole run right away. You just got to get in the game and keep learning every day, talking to people every day. And then that's how you're going to build true wealth long term.
I love it. I know that quote, but I hadn't seen it kind of applied to real estate, but you're so true. Like, I was actually at my meetup last month or earlier this month, and someone was like, "Oh, you're doing so great, yada yada." And I'd known this individual for quite a few number of years, but I was like, "Yeah, but I started investing in 2009. Like, real estate is not a get rich quick, but it's get wealthy for long term." Is what I tell people. And so it's one of those things that most people go, "Oh wow, you're so far." It's like, yeah, but I've been working on this for a long time. This wasn't an overnight success. So thanks for sharing that quote. I really think it's powerful. And I definitely think there's so much that goes on behind closed doors with real estate investors, with the grind and the grit that we all have. And, you don't always see the fruits of your labor for quite some time. So really good for all the audience out there. So
Absolutely.
switching gears to really our main subject, Courtney, how can you help our audience of real estate investors?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's twofold. The first thing is you have to go out and meet people face to face. You can listen to a lot of podcasts, you can read a lot of books. And I did this for a while, and I was and it's just lucky to being in analysis paralysis for over 2 years. Because I think I understood how real estate investing works, but I didn't really know how it was going to work in the market I was living in. So once I started going to these meetups and just hearing real stories of how people got into real estate, that's how I was ultimately able to develop a plan and then implement that plan. Because like I said, I was in analysis paralysis for 2 years. As soon as I went to a meetup and actually talked to people and saw what they were doing in the market, it was 4 months later, I had my first property. So there's so many people out there that have so much wisdom to share. And the truth is, investors, they're nerdy. They love to talk about real estate. So if you're willing to listen and implement the recommendations they provide to you, the resources and the amount of help they can provide you is just endless.
I love that. Maybe for someone getting started, like, where did you find real estate meetups? Like, where did you go to say, like, oh, I'm going to go there? And then, did you create a pitch or how did you kind of go about actually networking within these different meetups?
Yeah. So initially I Googled meetups in Phoenix and I found your meetup, Travis, and it was for healthcare professionals. And I thought, okay, this is perfect for me. So I think I got lucky, and the first meetup I found was actually just an incredible group of people. I will say since then, I have been, a lot of them I found through Bigger Pockets. Some of them were Facebook groups. I found one on meetup.com. Now, I've been to a few where, I just had a little bit different goals, or maybe the vibe was just a little bit different. So you have to find your people. If you go to one meetup and it's maybe, you guys just don't mesh, or maybe you don't feel like it's the right energy for you, there are other groups out there. So you just keep talking to people. More recently, I have found social media to be an amazing way to meet people too. And this goes beyond like Facebook groups. I really found that on Instagram, when I started geotagging more, and I would have more people pop up that were in my local community. So with that, I was just able to connect with people that I actually already knew. I had no idea they were investors, but they saw like from Instagram that I was interested in investing in real estate in general, and they reached out to me, and then I met people through that. So.
That's such a great important point you mentioned, is like you already knew the people. There's so many people out there that invest in real estate that you would never know actually invest in real estate or have properties or have problem properties. And I think it's really key for new investors to not only network, like you said, and get out there and meet other investors, but also to tell all their sphere of influence and the people around them that they are a real estate investor or looking to become a real estate investor, because we almost all know that realtor or someone with a real estate license, but we almost all know other investors and other people that we might be able to synergize with or learn something from. So I think that's really a great key point. And I want to talk a little bit more offline about the geo-tracking and some things you do, because you do some amazing things on social media, and definitely we'll include Courtney's Instagram and her YouTube in our show notes so that you guys can all follow her, because not only is it good content, but it's actually really funny. There's a few of us that we really love following Courtney and getting a good laugh here and there. So Courtney, what else? You said there were two things you really wanted to kind of focus on. So we definitely hit the networking part. So what was the second part maybe?
Yeah, the second part is, this actually should have been my quote: just do it, like Nike. You hear all these stories of like people, their first investment property was this huge cash flowing like machine. And you're like, why can't I find that? just find a property that's not going to sink you. And as long as the property is in a good location and you can hold on to that property for a while, a property is probably going to be a good investment down the road. Might not be bringing you a lot of cash flow today, but if you do your numbers and make sure it's at least a safe investment, jump on it. Because I came across a property, this was 2 years ago. It was an amazing opportunity off market, but it wasn't cash flowing super high. It was still cash flowing with capital expenditures and even including property management, but it wasn't what I was hearing people are doing on bigger pockets. So I said no. And this property now, a couple of years later, it was the one that got away, and I'll never regret it. So just do it. Start getting those properties.
Every investor has that story, or that one that got away, or they should have invested sooner. And it is tough when you listen to podcasts that are 2 or 3 years old, or you hear about certain markets that you hear the 1% rule or the 2% rule, and you hear people like, I would never invest if it didn't cash flow at least this X amount of dollars per month. And every market's different. I think you really hit the nail on the head there, that you really have to know your own market and what are investors doing and seeing in your particular market, or the market that you're going to invest in. So really important. So what ultimately was it? Like you said, you were in this analysis paralysis, you were looking for years, you couldn't pull the trigger. Was it just the meetups, or was there something that happened that really said, okay, I'm done kind of running numbers, I'm going to finally buy something?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Or if someone out there struggling with trying to kind of, or they're in that analysis paralysis phase, like what advice might you give that individual?
So I think what actually led me to jump on a property is I talked to someone and they broke down how they obtained their property, their financing, monthly expenses. And when I saw that it was a pretty modest return compared to some of these, like the 1% rule, I was like, oh, I could make this happen. I can jump on it. And so seeing those like specific numbers, I think I'm a very visual person and a numbers person. So that made me more comfortable being like, okay, well, this guy who's really savvy made this deal and it worked for him. Then, I'm going to trust that he knows the process well. And I'm going to then trust how he calculated it and apply that to these other properties. That makes sense. And I think the other thing too is, be patient. I was looking, I think I put in 5 offers on homes before I had one accepted. And this was in the summer of 22. So I think that was another thing when I was had in my mindset that I was determined to get this done. I was more patient with the process and didn't get super emotional when that offer wasn't accepted.
Yeah, you got to make a lot of offers. And I think what I heard from the person you looked at their deals is, I always tell people success leaves clues. And that just means that those other investors, they know, right? And they've experienced some of that stuff. And one of the reasons I do this podcast is to talk to all kinds of different investors, because I learn something with each and every interview and podcast I do, and every single meetup I go to. I go to other people's meetups around the valley, because there's literally never, you never know everything. And you can always hear something or learn something or glean something from a newer investor, a more seasoned investor. It doesn't really matter. So really, really love that. So what else? Is there any other advice for somebody that's maybe struggling, whether they're burnt out in a healthcare profession or in their W-2, or someone looking to get invested in real estate, other than maybe just do it? What other advice might you give a newer investor?
Yeah, so I think if your goal is to become a full-time investor to leave your W-2 job, it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to be longer than you initially anticipate. So find a job that's going to bring in income that you enjoy. I'm 33 years, and as soon as I was okay with stepping away from healthcare and pursuing, a career as a realtor, I was much more motivated day to day, and I was able to dedicate and stay more focused with investing and just building my knowledge. So I would just say, I think social media and some of these investing resources really glamorize being a full-time investor. But in all reality, it's going to take you some time, unless you have a lot of money or a lot of cash coming in. But for the average person, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that journey is different for everybody, and even people with a lot of money, it's harder to replace a lot of income. So it takes them a lot of time too. And, I go back to, it's a journey and I really love that you've started and you're on this like great trajectory up. And I wanted to touch a little bit on the social media because you've brought it up and we've talked a little bit about it, but what is it about social media that you love regarding real estate? Like, is it being able to follow a lot of accounts? Is it learning from people? Is it the connecting and the networking? What are you kind of getting the most out of social media right now for your real estate investing purposes?
For social media, I really have learned how to use that as a tool to connect with my immediate community. So I'm not following as much as like these big time investor influencers. It's more local people. And I've been able to successfully kind of train the algorithm to present more small businesses or other local investors in the area by primarily geotagging. So that's like when you post something like a story or a reel, you just add your location in there. And that has helped me tremendously because I'll get DMs from people. Or sometimes I'll meet a person at a meetup and then Instagram's almost like the new business card, right? You exchange that and you see what people are doing in your immediate local market. And I know Jake Kane talked about this in a couple podcasts ago, but I mean, the key to success is really networking and developing relationships. And I just find that social media is like helps build relationships quite a bit faster than if you're just going to meet up.
No, that's great. It's something that I know I don't personally take a lot of advantage of. I'm someone that will say I hate social media and kind of have to do it. And I was off Facebook
said that too, though.
for a lot of years, and I finally got back on because of business reasons. And yeah, it's something that I'm always struggling with to kind of buy into. And I know there's value there, but it's just actually getting on there and doing it. And I have a great media company that does all my social media posts, most of my media posts, so that I don't have to, but I do need to get out there and be a little bit more open to the social media aspect. Well, I guess I'll leave it open to you, Courtney. Anything else you want to share with the audience maybe before we get into the hot questions?
I think a huge thing is don't be discouraged by what you see on social media. Or actually on even bigger pockets, as much as I love bigger pockets. I think an example of this, I actually saw a deal that was in Chandler, Arizona. It was really close to me. This guy, he was telling investors not to be discouraged. In our current Phoenix market, you could still find deals. And he broke down all his numbers and he was cash flowing like crazy. And I was like, this is insane. So I went and looked at the property. The one detail he left out was he bought the property in 2017.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah.
So of course he was cash flowing now. So just don't get discouraged by what you see. And like if you see someone that's really, really successful online, it's not always the full picture. And just to reiterate what I was saying before, go meet people in your local community. That's how you're going to really figure out how to get into investing.
No, I love it. And huge proponent of that, and I appreciate that you came and found my meetup and Jake's meetup. And always appreciate all the support that you provide myself and all the other local investors. I do think we're building a really amazing community just out there, people out there wanting to help each other and all kind of see each other's success.
Hi, my name is Chris Hallam of Simplicity Lending Group and powered by Nexa Mortgage. I'm a trusted and experienced loan officer who will work with you to find the best mortgage options for your needs. From first-time homebuyers to experienced investors, I have a wide variety of loan options and competitive rates, which makes me the perfect choice for those who are in need of creative financing. Contact me today and take the first step towards financial stability.
So Courtney, are you ready for the hot seat?
Let's do it.
All right. We ask all our guests the same final 4 hot questions. So number 1, what is one book you'd recommend to someone wanting to know more about real estate investing?
Okay. So if you are a new investor, I would read Building Wealth One House at a Time by John Shaw. A tactical look, if you will, but this guy, he's been through the market over 40 years, so he's seen a few cycles. There's some good tidbits in there.
Love that book. I have that one on my shelf for sure.
Nice.
What is your favorite productivity tip, trick, or time saver? Maybe an app that you use that helps you get more done than the normal person.
Okay, so I know this is so cliche to say, but when waking up early, you're going to get so much more done in the morning. And if you have a hard time waking up in the morning and pressing the snooze button, put your phone across the room. Because once you get out of bed, you're up for the day. That's what I do.
What time do you wake up? I got to ask.
Yeah, so usually between like 4:30 and 5:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the earliest answer we have. I think Landon's
What's the earliest?
God, I think it was like 3:37. It was like a very unique time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm 5'10", but yeah, Landon Moore's got everyone beat thus far.
That's wild.
What's your biggest real estate mistake or failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Okay, so it's probably what I said earlier when that one property wasn't cash flowing like crazy, so I turned it down because now it would have been a pretty investment.
Yeah, buy real estate and wait, right?
Yes.
And finally, Courtney, if you can be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I want people to know that I am transparent. In everything I say, I'm going to say it as honestly as possible.
That's wonderful. And I think a lot of healthcare professionals, I always like to thank you for everything you do for patients. And, I know a lot of us worked really hard for degrees to be able to help other people. And it's one of my passions for helping people in the real estate investing, but I really do appreciate all the hard work you do for patients each and every day that you worked. And occupational therapists don't get all the love that they should, that's for sure, or the pay that they should, but I appreciate
That's
you.
also for sure. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I feel, that a lot of us are servants at heart. And I can see that like in your meetup and a lot of the people that you've connected me with. There's just some really, really good souls out in the investing world. And yeah, I'm glad I met them.
No, absolutely. Again, for our audience, the best place for the Hot REI community to connect with Courtney is on YouTube or Instagram, and we'll include those links in the show notes. Courtney, I just want to thank you again so much. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely, Travis.
Yeah, our time together today, and always enjoy seeing you in person at a couple meetups that we both attend. I hope for everyone out there that maybe is in analysis paralysis, that Courtney gave you some motivation to just do it, right? Get out there and go find your first deal. It might not be a home run, but it's going to get you started, and you're going to learn so much from that first investment. Thank you again for tuning in today, and commit to take action this week to move your investing forward. Take care, and God bless. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast. Check out our website, hotrei.com, for additional content and resources. And please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review so we can continue to bring even more value to others through real estate investing.